Hi, and welcome to this video of Dynamics 365 Talk, where I'll be discussing a new preview feature called Sales Accelerator. This feature is already available in Canada, and it started to roll out in the US this past weekend. But before we dive into that, let me introduce myself. My name is Dion Taylor. I am a Microsoft Business Applications MVP. Feel free to check out my blog at d365goddess.com. Follow me on Twitter at d365goddess, or connect with me on LinkedIn by scanning that QR code. So, what is the Sales Accelerator? Well, it is another tool in the Dynamics 365 Sales Insights toolbox which sales managers and sales reps can utilize to stay on top of their leads and their opportunities. So I'm not into like talking a lot about this because I'm a very visual person and hopefully you guys are too. So let's just go ahead and dive in. I'm going to show you how to turn on this preview feature, and then I'll show you how to configure some of these items, and then obviously how the sales managers and the sales reps can utilize this. I'm going to log into my Sales Hub, and you will see here that the Sales Accelerator is now in preview. So if you click here on Learn More, that will take you to the Microsoft Docs site, and it's kind of going to explain to you how you can turn it on, what it is, all that good stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go to Sales Insights Settings. And this is where you can turn that on. So you can see here I'm on Global Settings. And then I can see here under Acceleration, Sales Accelerator. And there's more information here as well. And then I can just agree to this and click on Get Started. And now you can also see that the preview is enabled. So if you just want to switch this back, I'm guessing this is going to disable that preview. So you can see a couple of different things here. Something about sequences. You can create sequences. You can set up predictive scoring here as well. And then this is to configure your dialer. And then if I scroll down here, I have some additional options as well. Now, the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to pick a form for leads and opportunities because those are the only two entities that are working with the Sales Accelerator. So I'm just going to set those to my regular lead form and my regular opportunity form, and then I can save that. And we can see that that's save went successfully, and now I can just go ahead and actually I want to enable this right now for all security roles. There we go. And then I can just publish this. Okay. Now I already created two sequences, and here is my trade show lead sequence. And a sequence is kind of almost like a to-do list. So let me just go ahead and click on View Steps. So what you can do is when your sequence is not active yet, you can add steps to a sequence. So you can see here I have an introduction, and I'm actually using an email template to that. And it's telling me introduction, and it also has a description. That's my first step. Then if I look at the next step, I can do a follow-up call, and it's putting here in the description what we're trying to accomplish here. Now, in between those steps, we can have wait conditions, and this is the amount of time that should really pass before that next activity needs to be completed. So let's just go ahead and create a new sequence. I'm going to just say trade show 2, and I can put some descriptions in there, and I can pick if this is a lead or an opportunity entity. Let's just go ahead and click lead, and we can now start picking my first activity. And you can see there's only 3 activities here: email, phone call, and task. So those are the only 3 that I can use. So let's start with an email. Introduction. So this is what you saw earlier as well. I'm just going to pick that template. Let's see here. Trade show visit. And I'm going to save that. That's my first step. Now I can click the plus button and I can add a wait time. So if I want them to first send the email and then wait maybe a couple of hours or a couple of days, I can set that here. So let's just say we're going to wait 2 days. And then we're going to do the next step. We're going to do a phone call. So this is kind of how you build out those sequences. And then what I can do is I can go ahead and save that, and then I can activate that. Now, I'm not going to do that with this particular one. As you can see, I already created one. So the way that it works is that the system, you can actually attach this sequence to your leads or your opportunity records. Now, these two, as you can see, are only working with lead records, and then this particular one, you can only attach opportunities to it. So all you have to do is just navigate to your lead records or open a lead record or an opportunity record, and then you can attach that. You can connect them to that sequence. After you do that, if you ever needed to, let's just go ahead and go to properties here. If you ever wanted to see which records are connected, you can do that by clicking on connected records. So these are all of the leads that are connected. And if I want to disconnect them, I can just select them and then click on disconnect, because you have to keep in mind that you can only have one sequence attached to a lead, right? You can have multiple leads to that sequence, but only one sequence per lead. So let me just show you real quick how we connect to a sequence. And I got to make sure that I am not trying to recreate or reconnect the same lead. Okay, so I'm going to go back to sales, and I'm going to leads. And let's just do Eva. Oops, I don't have to open Eva. So let's just go back here. So you can basically select multiple leads, right? Or just one. And you'll see here that you have that connect sequence. This is how you connect that lead to that sequence. And then what it will do is it will create actions for all of those steps that we just configured for that sequence. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to tell me which one do you want. I'm going to do the trade show lead sequence, and I'm going to click connect. Now let's navigate to the Sales Accelerator. And this is where we see several different things here. We have our current actions, which you can see in this list. So that is everything that needs to be completed. And then we have several due dates, right? You can see here that this falls under today. This is due by 6 today, 3 p.m. today. And then I have other actions below here. You can see that here, the last 7 days. I can also see that there's a button next to that as well, an action button. So I can call Alex Wu, I can create a task, or I can send an email directly here from my work list. I can also start filtering. You can see here, I can filter it out. If I only want to see the ones that are related to leads or opportunities, I can filter them out, or I can say I just want to see one particular task type. Because the way it works, that all of these items that you see here, those actions in my work list, are related because you just saw that I connected my lead record to that sequence, right? So all of these items, these actions here, are also related to a lead record or an opportunity. So you can see this one is actually related to a lead. If I click here on this mobile computing, I will click on that, and that will now load that related opportunity record. So again, we can do some grouping here. We can sort by different fields as well, by due date, by score, by name, and whether or not we want the oldest on top or the newest on top. And then of course I can either look on my due date by today or from tomorrow, but I can also go ahead and start searching for items in here as well. And obviously we're just searching for items that are in my work list. Then we also have the next action widget, and that's what you see over here. So you can kind of see that there is an up next, right? And that's, if you click on this little eye, I can see the sequence I'm connected to. But what this is showing me is my active action, right? Which is a task. And you can see here there's also a mark complete button. So depending on what type of action it is, you're going to see different buttons. So this one is a task, like I just said. If I click on that, it will actually load that quick create screen, right? And I can actually now create that task. This is also why it's a little bit different from playbooks, because playbooks will actually create those activities that we have configured. And this, as you can see, doesn't do that. These are more like actions or reminders or whatever you want to call that. So I can just put my description in here. It's copying over my due date. And then it's also setting my regarding field, obviously, because I'm doing this from within that opportunity. And then I can just save and close that. What we see below here, right? You can see here, send recap of meeting, as you can see. These are the upcoming actions, so to speak. So after this particular task, I'm going to have to send a recap meeting of the meeting. After that's done, I'm going to have a follow-up call. So you can see that these are currently read-only. I can't do anything with that because I need to mark this as completed first, and then it will load my next action. So I can do that by just marking that as complete. But I can also say, let me just skip this item. Maybe this is just not necessary, right? So maybe I need to skip it, or I can just postpone this action. So I can say, you know what, instead of this being due today at 3 o'clock, I'm going to say, we're going to do this tomorrow by 3 o'clock. Here we go. And I can just go ahead and save that. And I just refresh my screen, and you can now see that that particular action is now gone. It's because it's moved to tomorrow. And if I now change this due date to tomorrow, here it is. So let's just go back by today. Now, I also have one here on Alex Wu, which is a phone call record. Now, if you want to allow users to make a call by using this call button that you see here, or by even clicking on this icon that you have in the work list, you will need to have to integrate a soft phone with Dynamics 365 Sales, which you can do by utilizing the channel integration framework. So obviously, unfortunately, I haven't done that in my environment. So if I click this call, nothing is really going to happen, right? You can see here there's a problem with my dialer. I don't have a dialer. So that totally makes sense. Now, the other thing that it's going to do when I actually click on that call action, if I do have that integration, right, it actually will initiate a phone call record as well, and it will associate that to the lead or opportunity record that I'm in. There's also some fields that are going to be automatically populated. So the subject is going to be the name of the activity, then we're going to have the call from fields and the call to field, and then the phone number and the direction, obviously. But of course, if you're making a call, then the direction is always going to be outgoing. So that's the call button. Now, lastly, we also have here, and this is right, we just actually attached this lead record to, as you can see here, to that trade show sequence, and that's why we see here now this action. So I can just go ahead and send this email. If I click on this, you saw earlier that we actually had a template selected, so it will automatically load that template right inside of my email. I'm just going to give it a second here. And here we go. So you can see here that there's not a lot that I have to do here. I can just go ahead and send that email out. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And now I can just mark that as complete. And again, marking that as complete, as you can see, it's going to tell me, okay, the next item in your work list will automatically be loaded. And I can just go to the next work item. And as you can see, since I did not have that wait time configured in between, you can see that my follow-up call now shows up immediately here in my work list. Now, you might also have the need to create some ad hoc activities, right? Maybe instead of following every step in this sequence, maybe I want to go ahead and put something else in there. So you can kind of see that and managers obviously can do that as well. I actually have a manager here that actually said, you know what, there's a task here. I want you to set up a meeting for the 3 of us. So you can see I'm logged in as a system administrator, and I actually added that as myself and then put in that due date and time so that now it shows up in that work list. Now, the only 3 different types of activities that are going to show up here if you're creating those manually are obviously the same types of tasks, right? So same type of activities that we saw earlier when we were creating those steps. So only tasks, emails, and phone calls. So if I would create an email or I should say a task or a phone call here in my timeline with a particular date, it's going to show up in there. So let's just go ahead and do that and see if that works. Let me actually do it for different one. Let's do it for Alex. And all I have to do is just go ahead and create that record. So let's just say we're going to create a task, manual task. And I can put in here because whatever, right? So we're going to say today, and let's just say that needs to be done at 7 or at 6 p.m. And I'm going to hit save and close. Okay, and I'm going to refresh my screen real quick. And as you can see, here is my manual task that I just added. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button and be sure to check in back next week for a new video. So stay safe, everybody, and wash your hands.